you're passionate, and you got traction. But somehow, you pitch for whether you're selling to that enterprise or the next round of investors, are leaving people more confused than convinced. If investors are not biting, it's not about your product, it's how you're telling your story. Listen to today's episode and figure out how to fix that. Welcome to Provider's Edge, the podcast that helps healthcare entrepreneurs and innovators break down barriers and control their business, life, and future with valuable action steps. With me, your host, Sabrina Runbeck, a recovered clinician and a business deal catalyst. Let's rewrite the rules and create a positive social impact while increasing your profitability.
Every single conference has its own excitement, and then we're here as Media Press to capture some of the most innovative solutions out there, the leaders who are dare to go against the box of what's already existing in the industry to make some waves out there, and us who are in the communication side, the storytelling side, to make sure people actually understand what you're trying to tell them and what the true solution you're bringing in, and not just this jargon scientific way of how special you are. Because we all know every single solution is special, and at the same time, it also fits a certain set of mode that those people can truly become your champion and not just, you're great, that sounds great, but next. So Heather, please introduce yourself for all the amazing things that you work in the healthcare industry, and how did you land here?
It was kind of a lucky, I don't want to say accident, but a series of events that led to it. And I've been in the industry for now more years than I care to admit. So I've seen a lot of iterations. From my personal, I have Ray Communications, which is a communications agency that focuses on startups. I also work with some venture capitalists in their portfolio companies, as well as health systems. And part of that is getting their messaging down, getting their value proposition set for what audience they're speaking with, some media relations, what channels are most effective and will drive the biggest impact for their business goals.
Yes, and we all know most time, whether you come from the medicine side or you're coming from the tech side or you are pharma, right? These amazing, brilliant scientists, right? In STEM, they have their own language. However, once you start branching into a business model that's sound, there's a different language that you need to learn. And there's also different bio personas that you need to hook people on, whether they're the type of people who just a big picture, you have to show the big picture, the big vision, buy in before you get into the detail, or all they care about is your ROI. How do we make something that can turn into numbers, right? Versus some people just all over the place. You don't know where you need to capture them. Then you have to give them all the information. So there is a science behind communication. I think that's why marketing is very difficult in some way, right? We spend a lot of time just researching. Are you actually talking to your ideal customer, and not that, oh, I have 3 personas that we're talking to. I'm like, whoa, okay. Do we have all the money and resources and time to publish all 3 different way of how you communicate? How do you address some of the typical challenges that you see when the companies most we deal with are in the C Series A level that really about to grow and scale, right? Yeah. And it's no longer, it's the mom and pop, you work out of your garage. We're not in a sense of, hey, you build a foundation of your house. Let's put some walls and ceilings together. Let's put some rooms together, right? Yeah. Like, what are some of the bigger challenges you're seeing in that perspective?
Well, as you mentioned, these are brilliant people. They're very focused and dedicated to solving a particular challenge. And they found a new way, an innovative way, something that speaks to them, to solve it. That said, they're also very dialed into that and seeing it from that purview that they eat and breathe this terminology, the inside information. So how do you back up a step and make it so that it's relatable to someone who's not there every day, who doesn't have the same point of reference, and then getting to what matters to them, and then having an idea before you go into the conversation, what they're trying to get out of it and what would speak to them.
Right. And what would speak to them is what take the most time. And sometimes I feel like the people who are on the other side, right? The creative side is, wow, there's a lot of ways we can approach this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the founder side, then they feel the sense of urgency is like, how come people just don't know how brilliant we are, right? Well, it comes down to how you say things. And I think one of the lessons we learned from Warren Buffett is you have to communicate as a grammar has to understand you. If you don't pass a grammar test, that also means you have to speak in the level that a sixth grader can understand you. And when I hear from people, oh, even we speak with our peer scientists, it takes at least half hour for them to get it. Oh my God, how many half hour do you have in your life to just get buy-in, right? We needed to speed up that faster. Yeah. So that means the initial hook need to have the right information to even get people excited enough. So from your experience and from an investor side, what do you think are some of the key areas that they're looking for to hear in the beginning to say, I'm interested enough to even go for the next level?
From an investor standpoint, obviously they're interested in, are they going to get a return from this? So yes, we're in healthcare. Everyone wants to help people and bring innovations to market that will help do that. But they're also making sure that they're going to get a return. So what is the business model? What is the founding team's experience? How do they address challenges? Not only is this innovative, but can it scale? Will it deliver as promised? Are there big red flags that they're not seeing? One thing I see is companies, they don't want to speak about what the challenges could be, but from an investor wants to know that, because if for no other reason, to know that the company is aware of the challenges that they're going to face, who the competitors are and why they're different.
Right. You even mentioned this, which I think is really true, is when you say you don't have a competitor, that means you have not done enough market research. If I already can think at least 2 or 3 solutions that's similar to what you're trying to deliver, you don't know who your up goes against.
Let me tell you, every founder I met is deeply passionate about the solution they're building. But passion alone won't carry your pitch if no one understands what you are saying. That's exactly what Heather and I dove into today's episode so far. Let's quickly summarize what we talked about before we go any further. We unpacked the real challenges behind most startups' communication breakdowns. When founders speak in technical brilliance, but fail to translate that into messages investors, partners, or buyers understand. Well, Heather says who worked across startups, VCs, and health systems put it perfectly. Like Warren Buffett says, if your pitch cannot pass the grandma test, it's not investor ready. Founders need to consider not just what they're saying, but how it lands with different audiences. From ROI-driven decision makers to visionary buyers. And if you think you don't have competitors, that's a red flag in itself. Now, ready to learn how to communicate like a company worth betting on? Stay tuned for the rest of the episode. Now, before we get to the second half, if you're a founder with an established solution and user base, and want to present in front of active investors and decision makers from health systems and organizations, apply to be a contestant on HealthTech Showdown. Bonus, every month we give one qualified company an $800 scholarship toward this media opportunity and investor engagement. Think you should be in the spotlight? Then send us a short, less than 200 words explanation about your solution and why you want to present in front of investors, backing companies in your niche and decision makers already looking for what you have built. Send that to showdown@pulsepointpath.com.
And the same thing as when you are speaking about long-term value give, right? Instead of the short-term, we can look at your past 6 months, a year traction, right? Yes, that's great. You get somewhere. But we also wanted to see how sustainable this company can be. And that sustainability for us comes to 3 ways. Did you build enough infrastructure that has space to grow and not just so tight on the end? Everyone wearing 3, 4, 5, 7 different hats. There's not really a streamline, right? And then you're just almost like throwing things on the wall and see what sticks. And number 2 is how healthy are you? Right? Healthy from a perspective, a healthy leader, healthy company, things that actually work. It doesn't seem like have a lot of roadblock, but you also recognize the unhealthy side, not so much like you mentioned, right? At least be aware of that and be honest, authentic, and doesn't feel like you're hiding something. You're transparent about the way that you're doing things. And also, we're selling health. If you're not healthy yourself, then it's hypocritical. Then third is how much fun do you have? Right? And then how much fun your entire system company have without the piece of fun. Fun is determined by also appreciation, right? About self-motivation indicators. So without that, people are going to leave us. And despite how much amazing driven purpose and alignment they have. So we see that as when we are looking in investment, when the company you're thinking about growth, you have to think about these more of a holistic picture, not just the cookie cutter way of, I have a plan, I have this, I know the return. And if you don't know the basic things, you have to go back there first. But as you're continuing to move forward, we have to see more of a dynamic way, not just grind it out. Thing we talk about fun is our game show, the HealthTech Showdown, where 4 companies will compete within the same niche. Now, yes, you guys have the Shark Tank, the Box, the Apprentice. We're going to bring all these things together in healthcare. And why is that? Because we're special and we wanted the people that can truly back us up. So we're going to have people like Heather and people who are industry experts who are judges on the panel and investors who are actively looking for these portfolio companies. And at the same time, those who are ready for that bigger media exposure, that also means you know your message already. You have to be prepared. But we don't just throw you to the wolves. We actually put you through a boot camp to get your messages and fine-tuned and dial enough to get out there. But also, at the end of the day, it's still just a game show. It's a fun. So we wanted to see your personality, how you come out and compete within other people in your niche. Not so much about just like you are the best of the best, but we see how you think through things, how you're bringing people together, deciding those elements. And then we all vote for it. So the public get vote, the experts vote. And if you're the winner, you get a lot more media press, especially spotlight on you. So we feel that it's not just an introduction nowadays anymore.
Right.
It's about understanding the whole system, your company, and your personality, the authentic side of who you are as we move things together. Now, Heather, you've been in PR media for so many years. What do you think are some of the ways that founders have been able to really stand out, and what do you would recommend them to do?
Show their authentic self, show the personality, show the quirks, have your messaging down to a succinct. Obviously, tell the full story, but keep it down to 30. Have the elevator pitch, the 30-second, 1 minute of what your company does, what the set challenge you solve, and why you're in the business. Let your passion show through, and have a little fun.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, when we see the passion that comes through you, the funness that you can bring to the table, and we can demonstrate that you have a very sound plan and you have the right people there to help you, and also able to roll up the sleeves and do the things,
Yep.
now of course it becomes, oh, you're not a risk. You are actually someone who not just have a dream, you can get to the point of the promised land. And that's how champions are created, business partnerships are created, and then investments are coming into your door because they're willing to open up their wallet for you.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, is competition is for the need of showcasing. Even what I find funny is so every year we run an impact award, and doing the impact award, number one is tell us your solution in a short paragraph, right? And now that's the initial hook. From there, we filter to the next level. Okay, now send us your less than 3 minutes of pitch video, and give us an explanation of ABCD. E of your company, because we see a healthiness of a company has 3 different domains: the physical part, right? The tech, the intellectual side of things, the legal compliance, the operational efficiency, and then the financial stability.
Yes.
But what else? We need the emotional side of the company, which is the messaging, the market challenges, go-to-market solution, the sales process, the entire customer journey, so they can keep coming back to you. And then also business partnership. Then lastly, what most people don't see enough, even investors, I think they know it's important, but don't know how to assess, is human capital. Who are the leaders? Do you know how to support each other, not just doing like good time, but actually when things are not going well, right? The stressful situation.
Yes. And one thing I'll add to that is I've heard some executive teams that someone will say the two co-founders are complete opposites, like it's a bad thing. And actually, as long as they know how to, if they respect each other and work through it, that's actually a good thing.
Here's something most people don't tell you. Sustainability in your company isn't just about funding or product market fit. It's about whether your entire ecosystem can actually hold the weight of your growth. Heather and I dove into what makes an investor say, yes, I believe in this. And spoiler alert, it's not just your last 6 months of traction. It's about having enough operational space, a healthy team culture, and yes, a little fun built into your foundation. Because if your company cannot thrive under pressure, if your people are stretched too thin, or if you're too bottom up to show your authentic self, those are big red flags. And we created a platform to spotlight the right founders and those who are ready to step into the next level of visibility, funding, and close more deals. Not just with a plan, but with presence. The kind of founder who can show up, deliver, and stand out. So here's my question for you. If an investor looked under the hood of your company today, would they see a sustainable, scalable machine or a passion project held together with duct tapes? Now drop your thoughts in the comments, whether you're watching, reading, or listening. I want to hear how you think about leadership, health, infrastructure, and fun as part of your growth story. And make sure to tag me, Sabrina Runbeck.
Because you need the one person who's going to out there that's like, let's shoot for the moon, and yes, we can do everything. That's a lot more aspirational. And then someone who's on the other side that's like, well, they're a little more pragmatic. To me, what I've seen, those two personalities come together in a very like nurturing, respectful way. Those are the companies that seem to do the best.
Yeah, we definitely see as individuals that they don't have to fit any mold. We just needed to understand what is the best practice for them, right? How they communicate with their body, with their feature, with their tonality. Are they more big picture or they're more specific? Are they great at being a champion versus a maverick?
Yeah.
And what are the psychological tendencies they have to support them to be a peak performance leader versus sabotaging that? So one of the things we like to call it is we do a book of you, book of Heather, book of Sabrina. It's on a 4D dimension of not just psychological profiling, but how do we leverage our preference, our communication, and what are the blind spots? So then everybody else can support you the way that you naturally are. And therefore, there doesn't have to be opposite attract or complement. They do. It's just that when it doesn't work well, then you blame it on that. And when it works well, and when people are too similar, sometimes you also headband. And therefore, the more that we can understand our downside, right, the stressful side, then it's easier for us to work through anything. And it's also from both advisors and investors coming in who wanted to support a company, then they don't seem like they're taking over, which is a fear from a lot of companies taking on investment. They don't want it to feel like that identity is being lost.
Right.
As we're wrapping up in the idea of, hey, getting on game show, getting yourself out there, speaking about this, what would be some of the final recommendation you have for people who are considering getting themselves in front of camera, speaking, right? Some of the, perhaps the fear or things that are going around with it.
Do a dry run, practice, whether it's with your team, with family, actually, especially to have it a variety of people, because then you'll get the reaction. And different audiences will have different questions and receive things differently. So you want to know how your messaging lands, and they'll give great recommendations. But yeah, just eye contact, just being authentic, and that goes a long way.
Yes, understand how you communicate, number one, and then how other people enjoy their communication. And we know actually 50% of people are connectors, means they need the eye contact, they need a physical presence. Other 50%, they're very cerebral. The way to connect with them is you have to enlighten them with the message, with the thought, with these nuances to hook them attention. So train yourself. I think that at the end of the day is practice different way of saying things, a practice of how do we include different buyer personas into your presentation so you're able to cover everyone. And if you happen to have a one-on-one conversation, the more you can ask the right question, then you can get to what that person's preferred and feed it into that conversation, be that active listener as we can be. So many different ways that we can talk endless about it, but we're can't wait for you guys to, as innovators, to join us on the showdown, as leaders, to have on the panel, because we love to support you and put you as the right best person to support this industry. And then at the end of the day, it's all about how do we collaborate to accelerate together. So appreciate you, Heather, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
As a founder, you probably spent a lot of time working on your deck. However, as an investor, after hearing all the buzzwords, most people still walk away wondering, what did they actually do? What have they actually achieved? These subtle communication gaps can silently sink your success in getting the next contract with the physician group or enterprise partner, or your next check from the investors that you have been working that relationship for a long time, unless you catch them sooner. Here are some of the key points that we discussed today. Number one, brilliance alone won't get you buy-in. Many founders are deeply immersed in their technology or science, but fail to explain your value in a way others can understand. As I pointed out, if you cannot pass the grandma test, you won't pass the investor test. Number two, communication is a growth skill, not a nice to have. Whether it's pitching investors, speaking to the media, or rallying internal team. Clear communication is make or break. Heather shared how too many startups eat and breathe their own terminology, making it hard to connect with everyone outside their niche. Number 3, investors don't just want the upside. They want to know you see the risks. Heather emphasized the need for transparency. Investors want to know that you're aware of the challenges ahead. If you say there are no competitors, that's a red flag. Number 4, healthy companies have more than just a plan. They have joy, clarity, and cohesion. I broke it down into the 3 essentials investors are looking for. Number 1, operational structure that allows for scale. Number 2, emotional and team health. Now, we actually say that as a 5 dimension. And the third thing, a culture of fun and appreciation. Because people have to be self-motivated. All right, the 5th key point is personality is part of your pitch. Whether on a panel, in a pitch, or at an event like HealthTech Showdown, the ability to showcase your authentic self matters. Let your quirks come out, like Heather encouraged. It shows confidence. Number 6, practice isn't optional, it's essential. From try rounds to feedback loops with different audience types, preparation is what makes your story land. As Heather puts it, different audience will receive things differently. You want to know how your message lands. Number 7, last but not least, human capital and team dynamic are part of due diligence. Even if investors don't always say it, we are selling health. If you're not healthy as a leader or as a team, that tells us a lot. So when we do due diligence, one of the last but not final things we look at is what is the cohesiveness of these people who are truly leading the change. You can talk the talk and have a great plan, but who are the people who are actually executing this plan? Do they have what it takes, not just by their titles or their past experience, quote unquote, but how are they working together in this new team of leaders and doers, implementers to actually make things happen? Now, we all know we learned some experiences through our own journey, so we would love to hear from all of you guys. What have been the key element that has making your pitch successful? Comment below. Thank you for tuning in to Provider's Edge podcast. We hope you enjoy our latest episode and found the insights and tips helpful. We'd love to hear your feedback on the show and learn what topics you'd like us to cover in the future. So please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform and let us know what you think. Your feedback is essential to help us improve the show and provide you with the content you need to take your healthcare business to the next level. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.